Park Do-hyun stood at the viewport of the transport shuttle and watched the Veltari flagship grow larger against the stars. The ship was enormous. It stretched across the darkness like a silver blade, its hull covered in strange patterns that seemed to glow with soft blue light. Do-hyun had seen warships before, but nothing like this. The Crimson Dawn was built to intimidate, and it was working. "You don't have to do this," said Kim Ji-woo from behind him. She was his translator, though her real job was to watch his back. "Earth can send someone else. Someone more expendable." Do-hyun smiled without turning around. "They asked for me specifically. The commander herself made the request." "That's what worries me." The shuttle docked with a soft thump. Do-hyun picked up his single bag and walked toward the airlock. He had packed light. The Veltari had told him he would be provided with everything he needed. That promise felt more like a threat. The airlock opened, and Do-hyun stepped onto the flagship. The corridor was wide and tall, built for beings larger than humans. The walls were smooth and white, and the air smelled clean but strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Veltari crew members stood along the sides, watching him pass. They were tall and thin, with silver skin that reflected the light. Their eyes were large and dark, and they did not blink. Do-hyun kept his face calm. He had trained for this. Humanity's first real contact with the Veltari Empire had happened only 2 years ago, and the relationship was still fragile. Earth needed allies in a galaxy full of dangers. Do-hyun's job was to make friends, or at least to avoid making enemies. A Veltari officer stepped forward to meet him. She was shorter than the others, though still taller than Do-hyun. Her uniform was dark red, marking her as senior staff. "I am Hana," she said. Her voice was flat and cold. "I am second commander of this vessel. I will take you to your quarters." "Thank you," Do-hyun said. "I appreciate the welcome." Hana's expression did not change. "This is not a welcome. This is procedure." She turned and walked away. Do-hyun followed. The walk through the ship was long. Do-hyun saw training rooms, weapon bays, and areas he could not identify. Everywhere he went, Veltari stopped to stare. He heard whispers in their language, too fast for him to understand. He caught one word he recognized: human. They reached his quarters. The room was large and comfortable, with a bed that looked too big and a window that showed the stars outside. There was a desk, a chair, and a screen on the wall. Everything was simple and functional. "You will stay here," Hana said. "Do not wander the ship without escort. Do not enter restricted areas. Do not interfere with crew operations." "Understood," Do-hyun said. Hana looked at him for a long moment. Her dark eyes were unreadable. "I do not know why the commander wanted you here. Humans are weak. Your bones break easily. Your bodies fail in conditions we find comfortable. You have no natural weapons." She tilted her head slightly. "What use are you?" Do-hyun met her gaze. "I guess you'll find out." Hana made a sound that might have been a laugh, or might have been disgust. She left without another word. Do-hyun sat on the bed and let out a breath. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his hands steady. This was the game. The Veltari respected strength, and showing fear was the fastest way to lose. His communicator buzzed. It was Ji-woo, calling from the shuttle before it departed. "Are you settled?" she asked. "More or less. The second commander already told me I'm weak and useless." Ji-woo was quiet for a moment. "Do-hyun, listen to me. The Veltari don't do anything without a reason. If Commander Yuna invited you personally, she wants something. Watch yourself." "I know." "No, you don't. I've been reading reports about her. She's conquered 12 star systems. She's never lost a battle, and she's famous for studying her enemies before she destroys them." Ji-woo's voice was serious. "Don't let her study you." The call ended. Do-hyun stared at the communicator for a while. then put it away. He spent the next few hours exploring his quarters and testing the ship's systems. The screen on the wall could show him news from Earth, translated Veltari broadcasts, and information about the ship. He learned that the Crimson Dawn carried 3,000 crew members and enough weapons to destroy a small moon. He learned that Commander Yuna had led the Veltari fleet for 15 years and had never failed a mission. He did not learn why she wanted him here. The answer came that evening. A message appeared on his screen. Commander Yuna requests your presence for dinner, private quarters, 1 hour. Do-hyun read the message 3 times. A private dinner was unusual. Veltari culture valued group activities and public displays. A private meeting meant either great honor or great danger. Maybe both. He washed his face, changed into clean clothes, and checked his appearance in the mirror. He looked tired, but there was nothing he could do about that. A Veltari guard arrived to escort him. They walked through more corridors, past more staring crew members, until they reached a door marked with symbols Do-hyun did not recognize. The door opened. Commander Yuna's quarters were nothing like he expected. The room was large but warm, filled with colors and textures. Strange plants grew in corners. Artwork hung on the walls, some beautiful and some disturbing. Shelves held objects from dozens of worlds, trophies or gifts or memories. And there was Yuna. She stood in the center of the room watching him enter. She was tall, even for a Veltari, and her silver skin seemed to glow in the soft light. Her eyes were darker than Hana's, almost black, and they studied him with open curiosity. She wore a simple robe instead of a uniform, and her expression was calm. "Park Do-hyun," she said. Her voice was smooth and deep. "Welcome to my ship." Do-hyun bowed slightly. "Thank you, Commander. I'm honored by your invitation." "Are you?" She smiled, and the expression transformed her face. She looked less like a conqueror and more like someone sharing a private joke. "Most beings are afraid when I invite them to dinner. Their hearts beat fast. Their bodies produce stress chemicals." She tilted her head. "Your heart is beating fast, too. But you hide it well." Do-hyun said nothing. There was nothing safe to say. Yuna gestured to a table set with food and drink. "Please sit. I have many questions about humanity. I hope you will answer them honestly." "I'll do my best," Do-hyun said. He sat down across from her, and the dinner began. The food was strange but good. Yuna asked about Earth's history, about human biology, about the wars that had shaped his species. Do-hyun answered carefully, giving true information, but watching her reactions. She listened closely to everything he said, too closely. Do-hyun began to feel like a specimen under examination. Near the end of the meal, Yuna leaned forward. "I have studied many species," she said. "Most are predictable, they follow patterns, but humans—" She paused, searching for words. "Humans are different. You are weak, yet you survive. You are chaotic, yet you build. You are emotional, yet you endure." She looked into his eyes. "I want to understand you, Park Do-hyun. I want to see what humans really are, underneath the politeness and the training." Do-hyun felt a chill run down his spine. "And if I don't want to be understood?" Yuna smiled again, but this time the expression was not warm. "Then our time together will be very interesting indeed." The dinner continued for 2 more hours. Yuna asked questions without stopping, and Do-hyun answered them as carefully as he could. She wanted to know about human families, human friendships, human love. She wanted to know how humans chose their leaders and how they punished their criminals. She wanted to know what made humans laugh and what made them cry. Do-hyun told her about his own family. His parents still lived in Busan, near the ocean. His younger sister worked as a doctor in Seoul. He had not seen them in 3 years because of his diplomatic work. When he talked about them, something changed in Yuna's expression. She leaned closer, watching his face with intense focus. "You miss them," she said. It was not a question. "Yes." "Why?" "You can communicate with them through technology. You can see their faces and hear their voices. Why does distance matter?" Do-hyun thought about the question. It was hard to explain. "It's not the same," he said finally. "Humans need presence. We need to be in the same room, to touch, to share space. Technology helps, but it doesn't replace the real thing." Yuna made a note on a small device. She had been making notes all evening. "Interesting. The Velthari do not have this need. We value efficiency over sentiment." "That sounds lonely." Yuna's hand stopped moving. She looked up at him with an expression he could not read. "Lonely," she repeated, as if testing the word. "Perhaps. I have never considered it." She put down the device and stood. Do-hyun thought the dinner was over, but instead she walked to a shelf and picked up a bottle of dark liquid. She poured 2 glasses and handed one to him. "This is Valara," she said. "A Velthari drink. It will not harm you, but it may make you feel warm." Do-hyun took a sip. The drink was sweet and strong, and it burned pleasantly in his throat. Yuna was right. Warmth spread through his chest. She sat down again, closer this time. "I want to ask you something personal," she said. "You may refuse to answer." "Go ahead." "Human emotional responses interest me. Your species shows feelings openly in ways that other species do not. Fear, anger, joy, desire. These things appear on your faces and in your bodies." She paused. "I want to see them." Do-hyun felt his stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" "I want you to show me a genuine emotional response, not the controlled diplomat I have seen tonight, not the trained professional." Her dark eyes held his gaze. "I want to see the real human underneath." The room was very quiet. Do-hyun could hear his own heartbeat. "That's a strange request," he said. "Perhaps, but I am trying to understand your species. How can I do that if you hide yourselves from me?" "We're not hiding. We're being polite." "Politeness is a form of hiding." Yuna leaned forward. Her face was very close to his now. "I have commanded ships and armies. I have conquered worlds and made treaties with emperors. But I have never understood why humans behave the way you do. You are fragile, yet you take risks. You are mortal, yet you form attachments that only bring you pain. You make no logical sense." She reached out and touched his jaw with her fingertips. Her skin was cool and smooth, like polished stone. "Show me something real, Park Do-hyun. Show me fear. Show me anger. Show me—" She paused and something flickered in her eyes. "Show me attraction." Do-hyun's breath caught. He understood now. This was not just curiosity. This was a test. Yuna wanted to see how he would react when pushed. She wanted to find his weaknesses, his pressure points, the things that would make him lose control. He could not let her win. He reached up and gently removed her hand from his face. "Commander," he said, keeping his voice steady, "I'm flattered by your interest, but I'm not a laboratory specimen. If you want to understand humans, you'll have to do it the human way." "And what way is that?" "Slowly, with trust, by being vulnerable yourself, not just demanding vulnerability from others." Yuna pulled her hand back. Her expression was hard to read, but Do-hyun thought he saw surprise there. Maybe even respect. "You are refusing me," she said. "I'm setting a boundary. That's different. In my culture, refusing a commander is a serious matter. In my culture, respecting yourself is a serious matter." They stared at each other. The tension in the room was thick enough to touch. Do-hyun's heart was pounding, but he did not look away. Finally, Yuna laughed. The sound was unexpected, low and genuine. "You are interesting," she said. "Most beings try to please me. They tell me what they think I want to hear, but you—" She shook her head slowly. "You push back. I'm not trying to be difficult. No, you are trying to be honest. That is rare." She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "Perhaps I have been approaching this wrong. I have been treating you as a subject to study, but you are correct. Humans do not respond well to that approach." Do-hyun let himself relax slightly. The immediate danger had passed, but he was not safe yet. Yuna was changing tactics, not giving up. "I will try your way," she said, turning back to him. Slowly, with trust. "But in return, I want something from you." "What?" "I want you to participate fully in life on this ship. Train with my crew. Eat with them. Learn their ways. If you want me to understand humans, then you must also try to understand the Velthari." It was a reasonable request. Too reasonable. Do-hyun knew there was more to it, but he could not see the trap yet. "Agreed," he said. Yuna smiled. "Good. We begin tomorrow. My second commander, Hana, will oversee your integration. She is not fond of humans, but she is fair. Learn from her." Do-hyun stood to leave. As he reached the door, Yuna spoke again. "One more thing." He turned. She was watching him with that same intense focus, but now there was something else in her expression, something almost soft. "You asked me about loneliness," she said. "I have thought about it, and I believe you are right. I have been lonely for a very long time." She paused. "Perhaps that is why I find you so interesting. You are the first person in many years who has spoken to me like an equal, not a superior." Do-hyun did not know what to say. He had expected manipulation, not honesty. "Good night, Commander," he said finally. "Good night, Park Do-hyun." He walked back to his quarters alone. The ship was quiet at this hour, and the corridors were empty. Do-hyun thought about what had happened. Yuna had tried to break through his defenses, and he had stopped her. But in the process, something else had happened. She had shown him a glimpse of who she really was. Was it real, or was it another tactic? He could not tell, and that scared him more than anything else. When he reached his room, he found a message from Ji-woo waiting on his screen. "How was dinner?" Do-hyun sat down and typed his reply. "Complicated. She wants to understand humans. She also wants to take me apart and see how I work." Ji-woo's response came quickly. "That sounds like Velthari flirting." Do-hyun stared at the words. He had not considered that possibility. Velthari culture was so different from human culture. Yuna's questions, her touch, her intensity. Was that interest? Was that attraction? Did it matter? He turned off the screen and lay down on the bed. Sleep was a long time coming. When it finally arrived, he dreamed of dark eyes watching him and cool fingers on his skin and a voice asking him to show her something real. In the morning, his training would begin. He would learn to fight like a Velthari, to think like a Velthari, to survive on a ship full of beings who saw him as weak and strange. But first, he had to survive Yuna. And he was beginning to understand that might be the hardest part of all. The door chimed. A message appeared on the screen. "Report to Training Deck 7 at 600 hours. Commander Hana will be waiting." Do-hyun closed his eyes and let out a breath. The game was just beginning. Training Deck 7 was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Do-hyun could barely see it. The floor was covered with strange markings, and the walls were lined with weapons and equipment. In the center of the room, a group of Velthari soldiers stood in formation. They turned to look when Do-hyun entered. Hana was waiting for him. She wore combat armor instead of her officer's uniform, and she held a staff weapon in her hands. Her expression was the same as before, cold, distant, unimpressed. "You are late," she said. Do-hyun checked his communicator. He was exactly on time, but he did not argue. "I apologize." Hana made a sharp gesture, and the soldiers moved aside. Today you will participate in a combat simulation. You will be assigned to a team and given objectives. Success or failure will be noted in your record. What kind of simulation? A standard tactical exercise. Your team must capture an enemy position while defending your own. The enemy team will try to stop you. Hana looked at him with something like contempt. Do not expect special treatment because you are human. You will be judged by the same standards as everyone else. Do-hyun nodded. He had expected something like this. The Velthari respected strength and skill. If he failed, they would see him as weak. If he succeeded, they might begin to respect him. The simulation room was even larger than the training deck. Do-hyun stepped inside and found himself in a virtual battlefield. The technology was impressive. The ground felt real under his feet, and the air smelled like smoke and dirt. Buildings rose around him, damaged and broken. It looked like a ruined city. His team consisted of 5 Velthari soldiers. They looked at him with suspicion and doubt. None of them spoke to him. A voice came through the communication system. Simulation begins in 60 seconds. Blue team will attack. Red team will defend. Objectives are marked on your display. Do-hyun checked the small screen on his wrist. His team was blue. They had to capture a building on the far side of the battlefield while protecting their own base. The red team had more soldiers and better positions. The odds were not good. The countdown reached 0. The simulation began. His team moved forward immediately, using standard Velthari tactics. They advanced in a tight formation, covering each other with precise movements. It was efficient and disciplined. It was also exactly what the enemy expected. Do-hyun watched as the red team cut them down. The Velthari soldiers on his team were hit by simulated weapons and removed from the exercise one by one. Within 5 minutes, only Do-hyun and 2 others remained. One of the survivors, a young soldier named Siwon, turned to him with anger in his eyes. Your presence disrupted our formation. You are too slow and too weak. We should have left you behind. Do-hyun ignored the insult. He was looking at the battlefield, thinking about the patterns. The red team was good, but they were predictable. They followed Velthari doctrine perfectly, which meant he knew exactly what they would do next. We need to change tactics, he said. Siwon laughed. A human telling Velthari how to fight? Ridiculous. The current tactics aren't working. We've lost 3 soldiers in 5 minutes. If we keep doing the same thing, we'll lose. The other survivor, a female soldier named Yoonji, looked at him with curiosity. What do you suggest? Do-hyun pointed to the buildings on the left side of the field. The red team expects us to advance through the center. That's the direct route, the logical route. But there's another way. We go through those buildings, circle around, and attack from behind. That route is longer, Siwon said. We will be exposed. It is tactically inferior. It's unexpected, that's the point. Siwon started to argue, but Yoonji cut him off. We are losing anyway. What harm is there in trying something different? They moved through the buildings. It was slow and dangerous. Do-hyun's heart pounded as they crept through shadows and climbed over rubble. Several times they nearly ran into enemy patrols, but Do-hyun's instincts helped them avoid detection. The Velthari soldiers were surprised by his abilities. Humans had poor hearing and weak night vision, but Do-hyun compensated with other skills. He noticed small details they missed. A footprint in the dust, a shadow that moved wrong, the faint sound of breathing around a corner. They reached the enemy's rear position. The red team's soldiers were all facing the other direction, waiting for an attack that would never come. Now, Do-hyun whispered. They attacked. The red team was caught completely off guard. Do-hyun and his 2 teammates moved fast, hitting targets before they could respond. The simulation registered hit after hit. Enemy soldiers fell. But it was not enough. The red team recovered quickly and began to fight back. Do-hyun found himself in direct combat with a Veltari warrior twice his size. He could not win with strength, so he did not try. Do-hyun dropped low and rolled under the warrior's swing. He came up behind the enemy and struck at the back of his knee, a weak point in Veltari anatomy he had studied. The warrior stumbled. Do-hyun hit him twice more, fast and precise, and the simulation marked him as eliminated. But more enemies were coming. Too many. "We need to reach the objective," Yoonji said. "The building is close." "Go," Do-hyun said. "I'll hold them here." Siwon stared at him. "That is suicide." "Maybe, but if you capture the objective, we win. That's what matters." He did not wait for them to agree. He turned and faced the approaching enemies. There were 6 of them. Do-hyun had no chance of winning, but he did not need to win. He just needed to give his team time. He fought like he had never fought before. He used every trick he knew, every dirty tactic, every move that the Velthari would consider dishonorable. He threw dust in their eyes. He used the terrain to create obstacles. He made them chase him through narrow spaces where their size became a disadvantage. One by one, he slowed them down. He took hits, and his body screamed with simulated pain. But he kept moving. He kept fighting. Behind him, he heard Yoonji's voice through the communicator. "Objective captured. Blue team wins." The simulation ended. The virtual world disappeared, and Do-hyun found himself back in the training room. He was on his knees, breathing hard. His muscles ached, and his vision was blurry. But they had won. The Velthari soldiers were staring at him. Siwon's expression had changed from contempt to something else. Confusion, maybe, or the beginning of respect. Hana walked toward him. Her face was unreadable, as always. "That was not Veltari combat doctrine," she said. "No," Do-hyun agreed. "It was human combat doctrine, or something like it. You used deception, misdirection. You fought without honor. I fought to win. My team is alive, and the objective is captured. That's what matters." Hana was silent for a long moment. Then she turned to the watching soldiers. "The exercise is complete. Dismissed." The soldiers left, but they kept looking back at Do-hyun as they went. He had shown them something they did not expect. He had shown them that humans could be dangerous in their own way. Hana waited until they were alone, then spoke again. "The commander will want to hear about this. She has been watching." Do-hyun looked up and saw an observation window high on the wall. Behind the glass, he could see a familiar figure. Yuna was standing there, looking down at him. Even from this distance, he could see she was smiling. "You have made an impression," Hana said. There was something in her voice that might have been grudging respect. "Do not let it go to your head." She left him alone in the training room. That evening, Yuna found him on the observation deck. He was looking at the stars, thinking about the simulation and what it meant. "You surprised everyone today," she said, standing beside him. "I just did what humans do. We adapt, we improvise. We find ways to survive. You made yourself a target so your team could win. That was unexpected." She turned to face him. "You think differently than any species I have encountered. Chaotic, desperate, effective." She reached out and touched his face, like she had at dinner. But this time, her touch was gentle. "I am beginning to understand why humans survive," she said softly. "You are willing to sacrifice yourselves for victory. You do not calculate the odds. You simply act." Do-hyun pulled back slightly. "You're still studying me?" "Perhaps." Her eyes held his. "Or perhaps I am simply interested. Is there a difference?" He did not have an answer for that. Yuna dropped her hand and stepped back. "Rest well, Park Do-hyun. Tomorrow will be even more interesting." She walked away, leaving him alone with the stars and his thoughts. Do-hyun knew he should be worried. Yuna's interest in him was growing, and he did not know where it would lead. But part of him, a part he did not want to examine too closely, was interested too. He stayed on the observation deck for a long time, watching the universe turn slowly around him, and wondered what would happen next. 2 weeks passed on the Crimson Dawn. Do-Yun trained with the crew every day. He ate with them, learned their customs, studied their language. The Velthari soldiers slowly began to accept him. They still thought he was weak, but they no longer thought he was useless. Siwan became something like a friend. He taught Do-Hyun fighting techniques and explained Velthari traditions. Yoonji helped him understand the ship's systems and introduced him to other crew members. Even Hana seemed less hostile, though she never smiled. But something was wrong. Do-Hyun could feel it. Yuna continued to invite him to private dinners. They talked for hours about everything: philosophy, history, science, art. She was brilliant and curious and surprisingly funny. Do-Hyun found himself looking forward to their conversations. He also found himself thinking about her when they were apart, the way she tilted her head when she was interested, the sound of her laugh, the intensity in her dark eyes. This was dangerous, and he knew it. One night, a knock came at his door. It was late, well past the ship's sleep cycle. Do-Hyun opened the door and found a human standing there. He had seen this man before in the engineering section. His name was Tai-Ho, and he was one of the few other humans on the ship. He was small and nervous, with quick eyes that never stopped moving. "Can I come in?" Tai-Ho asked. "It's important." Do-Hyun stepped aside to let him enter. Tai-Ho looked around the room as if checking for surveillance devices, then spoke in a low voice. "I found something you need to see. Something about Commander Yuna." Do-Hyun's chest tightened. What kind of something? Tai-Ho pulled out a small data device. "I work in engineering, but I also have access to the ship's secondary systems. Maintenance, life support, that kind of thing. Last week, I noticed unusual data transfers happening in the commander's private network. I got curious." "You hacked the commander's files?" "Not hacked. Just looked where I wasn't supposed to look." Tai-Ho's hands were shaking. "Do-Hyun, she's been collecting data on you. Everything. Your vital signs during training, your emotional responses during conversations, your brain activity when you're sleeping. She has files on every human interaction you've had since you came aboard." Do-Hyun felt cold. "What kind of files?" "Psychological profiles, behavioral predictions, weakness assessments." Tai-Ho looked at him with fear in his eyes. "She's not just studying you out of curiosity. She's building a complete model of human psychology, and I think I know why." He handed Do-Hyun the data device. Do-Hyun scrolled through the files. There were charts and graphs, notes and recordings. Everything Tai-Ho said was true. Yuna had been watching him with scientific precision, recording every response, every reaction, every moment of vulnerability. At the bottom of the files, he found a summary document. The title made his blood run cold: Assessment of Human Psychological Vulnerabilities and Potential Countermeasures. "She's preparing for war," Tai-Ho said quietly. "Or at least preparing for the possibility. If the Velthari ever decide humans are a threat, they'll know exactly how to break us. And you gave her everything she needed." Do-Hyun stared at the screen. He thought about all the hours he had spent with Yuna, all the personal questions he had answered, all the emotions he had shown. He had thought they were building trust. He had thought she was beginning to see him as an equal. He was wrong. "What do I do?" Tai-Ho asked. Do-Hyun thought for a long moment. His first instinct was to confront Yuna immediately, to demand answers. But that would be a mistake. She was smarter than him, more powerful than him. If he attacked without preparation, he would lose. "Don't tell anyone else about this," he said. "Let me handle it." Tai-Ho nodded and left. Do-Hyun sat alone in his quarters, looking at the data on the screen. Anger burned in his chest, but underneath the anger was something worse: hurt. He had started to care about Yuna. He had started to think she cared about him. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. It didn't matter. She had used him, and he had let her. He waited until the next evening when Yuna invited him to the observation deck for drinks. She was standing by the window when he arrived, looking beautiful and calm. "You seem troubled," she said. "Is something wrong?" Do-Yun walked toward her. "I know what you've been doing." Her expression did not change. "What do you mean?" "The data collection. The psychological profiles, the countermeasures document." He stopped a few feet away from her. "You've been studying me to find human weaknesses, all those conversations, all those questions about emotions and relationships. You were looking for ways to destroy us." Yuna was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "That is true." Do-Yun had expected denial. The simple admission caught him off guard. "The Velthari Empire sees humanity as a potential threat," she continued. "Your species expands quickly. You adapt to new environments faster than almost any race we have encountered. You form alliances easily and fight with unexpected ferocity. My superiors wanted to know if you could be controlled, or if necessary, defeated. And that's why you brought me here. Not for diplomacy, not for cultural exchange. Just to take me apart and see how I work." "At first, yes." "At first?" Yuna turned to face him fully. Something in her expression had changed. The commander was gone. The person standing before him now was someone else, tired, conflicted, perhaps even vulnerable. "I have spent my life serving the Empire," she said. "I have followed orders without question. When I was told to study humans, I studied humans. When I was told to find weaknesses, I found weaknesses." She paused. "But somewhere along the way, my interest became personal." Do-Hyun shook his head. "You expect me to believe that?" "No. I expect you to be angry. I expect you to hate me." Her voice dropped. "But I am telling you the truth. You are not what I expected, Park Do-Hyun. You have made me question my conclusions, my orders, even my loyalty." "That's convenient. The moment I discover your betrayal, suddenly you have feelings. I do not expect you to trust me, but I am asking you to listen." Yuna stepped closer. "The data I collected can be used two ways. It can be used to destroy humanity, or it can be used to prove that humanity should not be destroyed. The final report I send to my superiors will determine which path the Empire takes." "And what report are you going to send?" Before she could answer, alarms began to scream throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. A voice came through the communication system. "Alert! Security breach in engineering. All personnel to stations." Hana's voice followed immediately. "Commander, we have a situation. Several officers have seized the engine room. They are making demands." Yuna's expression hardened. The vulnerability was gone, replaced by cold command. "What demands?" "They want the human removed from the ship. They say his presence is corrupting your judgment and threatening the Empire. They are calling it a correction, a mutiny." Someone on the ship had decided that Yuna's interest in Do-Hyun was dangerous and was taking action. Yuna looked at him. In her eyes, he saw calculation and something else. Fear. Not for herself, but for him. "Stay here," she said. "Lock the door and do not open it for anyone. Let me help. You will help by staying alive. You are the target of this attack. If they find you, they will kill you and blame your death on accident or escape attempt. I cannot protect you if I am fighting and watching for you at the same time." She was already moving toward the door. Do-Hyun grabbed her arm. "Wait, the report." "You never answered my question. What are you going to tell your superiors about humanity?" Yuna looked at his hand on her arm, then at his face. "I am going to tell them that humans are too valuable to destroy," she said. "I am going to tell them that humanity should be an ally, not an enemy. I am going to tell them that I was wrong about your species and that my errors almost cost the Empire its future." "Why? Why would you do that?" She smiled, just slightly. "Because you showed me something real, and that is exactly what I asked for." She pulled her arm free and left. Do-hyun stood alone in the observation deck, listening to the alarms and the sounds of chaos spreading through the ship. The woman who had betrayed him was now fighting to save him. The mission that had started as manipulation was becoming something else. He had a choice to make. He could stay here, safe and hidden, while others fought and died. He could let Yuna handle it, let the Velthari solve their own problems. Or he could do what humans always did, get involved, take risks, and try to help even when the odds were impossible. The choice was easy. Do-hyun left the observation deck and headed toward the fighting. The ship was in chaos. Alarms screamed from every direction, and crew members ran through the corridors with weapons in their hands. Do-hyun moved against the flow, heading toward engineering while everyone else was heading away. He found Ji-woo first. She was crouched behind a barrier near the medical bay, firing at a group of mutineers who had taken position at the end of the hall. "What are you doing here?" she shouted when she saw him. "You're supposed to be hiding." Change of plans. Do-hyun dropped down beside her. "What's the situation?" "Bad. The mutineers have engineering, weapons control, and most of Deck 4. They're demanding Yuna hand you over and resign her command. They say she's been compromised by human influence." "How many of them?" "Maybe 200. They've been planning this for a while." Ji-woo looked at him with worry in her eyes. "Do-hyun, they won't stop until you're dead. You should go to the escape pods and get off this ship." "I'm not running away. This isn't your fight." "Yes, it is." He met her gaze. "If I run, they win. They'll say humans are cowards. They'll use my escape as proof that we can't be trusted. The Alliance dies, and maybe a lot of humans die after that." Ji-woo was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "Fine. What's your plan?" Do-hyun looked down the corridor toward the mutineer position. "We need to reach the bridge. Yuna is there, trying to coordinate the response. If we can get to her, we can help." They moved through the ship, collecting allies as they went. Taeho joined them, carrying a tool kit he was using as a weapon. Saiwon found them near the training deck, along with Yoonji and a handful of soldiers who had stayed loyal to Yuna. "The commander is trapped," Siwon said. "The mutineers have blocked all routes to the bridge. She has a small team with her, but they are surrounded." "Then we break through," Do-hyun said. Siwon looked at him with surprise. "You would fight for a Velthari commander, after everything?" "She's fighting for me, that's enough." They attacked the mutineer blockade from behind. It was the same tactic Do-hyun had used in the simulation: unexpected, chaotic, effective. The mutineers had prepared for assault from the front, not from the rear. They fell into confusion as Do-hyun's team hit them fast and hard. The fighting was brutal. Do-hyun was no match for a Velthari in direct combat, but he did not fight directly. He used the environment, the darkness, the element of surprise. He made the mutineers chase him through narrow passages where their size was a disadvantage. He created distractions that let his teammates strike. Yoonji went down with a wound to her side. Siwon carried her while still firing his weapon. Taeho got separated but kept fighting alone, using his engineering knowledge to disable the mutineers' equipment. They reached the bridge. Yuna was there, standing at the center of the command room with a handful of officers. She had a weapon in her hand and blood on her uniform, but she was still giving orders, still in control. Her eyes widened when she saw Do-hyun. "I told you to stay hidden. I don't follow orders well. You should have learned that by now." Despite everything, she almost smiled. "Yes, I suppose I should have." The mutiny's leader came through on the communication system. His name was Junwoo, and he was a senior officer who had served under Yuna for years. His voice was calm and cold. "Commander," he said, "this ship is under new management. You have allowed a human to corrupt your judgment. You have forgotten your duty to the Empire. Surrender the human and step down, or we will destroy the bridge and everyone in it." Yuna's expression hardened. You are a traitor, Junwoo. You will be executed for this. Perhaps, but I will die serving the Empire. You will die serving your pet human. The communication ended. Hana turned to Yuna. They have placed explosives on the deck below us. If they detonate, we will not survive. The officers looked at each other. Some were afraid, some were angry. None of them had a solution. Do-hyun stepped forward. Let me talk to him. Everyone stared at him. That is ridiculous, Hana said. He wants you dead. Exactly. He wants me, not a fight. If I go out there and face him directly, maybe I can change his mind, or at least buy time. He will kill you. Maybe. But right now that's the best option we have. Yuna grabbed his arm. I will not allow this. Do-hyun looked at her. In her eyes, he saw something he had not seen before. Genuine fear. Not for herself, not for her crew, but for him. You asked me once to show you something real, he said quietly. This is real. This is what humans do. We put ourselves in danger for people we care about, even when it's stupid, even when it doesn't make logical sense. I don't want you to die for me. Then let's make sure I don't. He pulled his arm free and walked toward the door. Behind him, he heard Yuna give orders to her officers. Prepare to move on my signal. If this fails, we attack immediately. Do-hyun stepped out of the bridge and into the corridor. Junwoo was waiting there with a group of mutineers. They had weapons pointed at him, but they did not fire. Junwoo was curious. He wanted to see what the human would do. You have courage, Junwoo said. I will give you that, but courage will not save you. Maybe not, but I'm not here to be saved. I'm here to talk. There is nothing to talk about. You are an infection. You have poisoned the commander's mind and weakened her commitment to the Empire. The only cure is to remove you. Do-hyun took a breath. This was the moment. Everything depended on what he said next. You're wrong about me, he said. And you're wrong about Yuna. She hasn't been weakened. She's been learning. She's been studying humanity because she wants to understand us, not to destroy us. And what she's learned is that we can be allies. We can make the Empire stronger, not weaker. Junwoo laughed. Pretty words. But I know what I see. A commander who spends her nights with an alien instead of her officers. A fleet leader who cares more about one human than about her own people. She cares about her people. That's exactly why she's been studying us. She wants to give the Empire accurate information, not propaganda. She wants your leaders to make the right decision about humanity based on truth, not fear. The truth is that humans are dangerous. Yes, we are. But we're also useful. We adapt, we innovate, we form alliances. We can be the Empire's greatest enemy, or we can be your greatest asset. Yuna understands that. She's trying to give you the best possible future. Do-hyun stepped closer to Junwoo. You can kill me and destroy that future, or you can stand down and let her complete her work. The choice is yours. Junwoo was silent. The mutineers behind him looked uncertain. Do-hyun's words were reaching them, planting doubt. You are either very brave or very stupid, Junwoo said finally. Probably both. That's a human thing. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Junwoo lowered his weapon. I will not surrender, he said, but I will listen. Call your commander. Let her speak for herself. Yuna emerged from the bridge. She walked past Do-hyun without looking at him, her full attention on Junwoo. You question my judgment? She said. I understand. I have not explained myself well, but I am asking you now to trust me. Let me present my report to the High Council. Let them decide if I am right or wrong. If they disagree with me, I will accept any punishment. But do not throw away the future of the Empire because you are afraid of what you don't understand. The seconds stretched out. Do-hyun's heart was pounding. Finally, Junwoo nodded. I will await the council's decision. But if you are wrong, Commander, I will be the one who executes you. The mutiny ended. The weapons were lowered. The crew slowly began to return to their duties. It was over. Yuna turned to Do-hyun. They stood in the corridor while officers and soldiers moved around them, but in that moment, it felt like they were alone. "You put yourself in an awkward spot for my sake," she said. "Why?" Do-hyun smiled slightly. "Because that's what humans do. We're chaotic, remember?" Chaotic, desperate, effective. She was looking at him the way she had looked at him on the first night, with intense curiosity. But now there was something else there, too. Something warmer. "I have to send my report to the High Council," she said. "I will recommend a full alliance between the Velthari Empire and humanity. But for that to work, I will need a human advisor. Someone who understands both sides. Someone who can help me navigate the complications." That sounds like a difficult job. Very difficult. The advisor would have to live on this ship indefinitely. They would have to work closely with me, constantly. Do-hyun looked at her. "Are you asking me to stay?" "Yes. I am asking you to stay." She held his gaze. "But not just as an advisor. As something more. If you are willing." It was not a declaration of love. Velthari did not do that. But it was close. It was as close as Yuna could come, and Do-hyun understood what it meant. "I'll need my own quarters," he said. "Of course. And real food sometimes. Not just Velthari cuisine. That can be arranged. And you have to promise to stop studying me. At least professionally." Yuna smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. "I cannot promise that. You are too interesting. But I will study you, personally, if you allow it." Do-hyun laughed. It was the first time he had really laughed since coming aboard the Crimson Dawn. "Fine, I'll stay." They stood together in the corridor, commander and human, alien and man. The ship hummed around them, wounded but still flying. The stars waited outside, full of danger and possibility. It was not a perfect ending. There would be more challenges, more conflicts, more awkward situations. But for now, it was enough. It was the beginning of something new.